This is the American Worker Rebate Act. It's only 14 pages long, but don't let that fool you. Inside are big changes that can put cash directly in your pocket. You probably haven't seen a single page, but I've gone through it all. And in this video, I'm breaking down what it actually says, how much money you might get, who qualifies, and the sneaky rule on page 7 that flips everything you thought you knew. Before we jump in, hit the comments and tell me one small or big thing you'd do if an extra $600 landed in your account tomorrow. Maybe it's groceries, maybe it's a mini vacation, or hey, maybe it's just pizza night with the kids. Toss your idea down there. I read every single one. And speaking of things I love, if calm, practical money discussion is important to you, tap subscribe so you don't miss our next sit-down. So, the American Worker Rebate Act of 2025, sometimes folks call it the Tariff Rebate Stimulus, is only 14 pages. It's not War and Peace, more like a pamphlet you could tuck behind your electric bill. I've got the document open right here, and we're going to stroll through each page together, coffee shop style, plain language, no legal overload. Page 1 greets you with the official congressional cover. Nothing flashy, but one sentence pops. Congress intends to recycle tariff revenue collected after January 20th, 2025 back to working people. Picture the government taking a fee at the border, then mailing part of that same fee to households. 2 lines lower, you see the short title, American Worker Rebate Act, and a quick policy statement that basically says, let's make tariffs help families directly instead of disappearing into the giant federal sinkhole. Straightforward mission set. Now, page 2 is where the money numbers show up, and this is where things get exciting. Lawmakers carve a brand new section into the Internal Revenue Code, Section 6428C. If you want to sound fancy at dinner tonight, the headline figure is $600 per adult, $600 per qualifying kid. But here's the twist that changes everything. It's a floor, not a ceiling. The section lets that figure float higher if tariff collections outpace projections. Think of it like a balloon tied to customs receipts. The more duties flow in, the fatter your check could be. That's different from past stimulus rounds, which always capped payments at fixed amounts. Page 3 narrows the definition of qualifying tariff proceeds, and timing here is crucial. Only duties collected after January 20th, 2025. Yeah, that's the day President Trump's new tariff schedule kicked in. Count for funding. The idea is to create a clean ledger line. Old duties stay in the general fund. New ones fill the rebate bucket. Treasury is allowed to use projections instead of waiting for perfect data, so payments go out faster. Timing matters, especially with election pressures mounting. Turn to page 4 and you hit the income phase out, where things get personal. If your adjusted gross income tops $75,000 as a single filer or $150,000 for married filing jointly, the rebate shrinks at 5 cents per extra dollar. So if you're single earning, say, $95,000, your $600 drops to zero. The goal here is to keep the money aimed at middle-income households, where frankly, $600 still makes a real dent. This page also lays out who can't grab the rebate: non-resident aliens, dependents claimed by someone else, estates, trusts, all out. Same fence we saw in 2020 and 2021 with the pandemic checks. Keeps things from doubling up or drifting overseas. Page 5 is the mechanics page, and this one's sneaky important. Treasury has to issue advanced refunds using your 2024 tax return, meaning your last filing season. Why last year? Because the IRS already processed it so they can fire off payments early in 2025 without waiting for this year's paperwork. Direct deposit details widen too. Any account that's seen a federal payment since 2023, Social Security, VA, child tax credit, anything qualifies. That one change alone could slash mailed paper checks dramatically. Flip to page 7 and you'll see the retiree twist I teased, and this might be the most quietly revolutionary part. If you didn't file taxes in 2024, no stress. The IRS can lean on your 2023 return. And if that's missing, they're allowed to pull your Social Security SSA 1099 form, Remember when seniors almost missed stimulus cash in 2020? Congress doesn't want that rerun, so they baked in a direct data pipe from SSA to Treasury. It's maybe the quietest but most impactful fix in the whole act. On page 8, Treasury must send a notice within 15 days of issuing any payment. It's basically a receipt saying, hey, $600 went to this routing number on this date. Keep it for your records. Same page kicks off the Social Security number rule. Everyone on the return, taxpayer, spouse, child, needs a real SSN except adopted kids can use an ATIN temporarily. Keeps fraud down. Page 9 continues those SSN guardrails, but check out the military carve-out. If one spouse served in uniform any time during the tax year, the couple qualifies even if only one has an SSN. Congress learned that lesson the hard way in 2020 when mixed status families got shut out. Now that loophole closes before it opens. Page 10 moves us into the plumbing of tax administration. They add the rebate to the list of math error items the IRS can autocorrect. Translation: if you accidentally write 2 kids instead of 1, the IRS can fix it on the fly instead of kicking your return into a months-long audit. Spell check for taxes. Pretty handy. Page 12 shifts the spotlight to the territories. Puerto Rico, Guam, the Virgin Islands, American Samoa, Northern Mariana Islands. These places run mirror tax codes, so Treasury wires their governments a lump sum. Local agencies cut the checks. That's crucial because maybe 40% of Puerto Ricans don't file U.S. federal returns. So the mirror system keeps parity across zip codes and postcodes. No second-class treatment. Page 12 wraps up territory language plus accounting notes. It slots the rebate under the permanent refund appropriation in 31 U.S.C. 1324, which sounds dull, but basically guarantees money can flow each year without Congress passing a fresh spending bill. Handy if tariffs keep roaring. Page 13 is the public favorite, no offsets. The rebate is shielded from garnishment for federal debts, back taxes, even overdue child support. Supporters argue families need the cash to pay rent and utilities. Critics say it lets debtors off the hook, but Congress sided with liquidity. If you owe Uncle Sam, he'll wait. Next, it hits 2 last items. Overpayments don't run interest, so if Treasury mistakenly pays you too much and later claws it back, no extra pennies piling up, and it grants broad regulatory authority so Treasury can plug edge case leaks without waiting for lawmakers to reconvene. That's the legal duct tape. Deep breath. We just walked every page. So what's it mean in dollars? Baseline is $600 per adult and kid. A family of 4 clocks, $2,400 baseline. If tariff receipts exceed projections, and analysts think they might, given the new electronics duties that went live in March, your check could float to $800 or more. More duties, bigger balloon. Remember? Let's do 2 quick scenarios. First, Emma and Jordan married $85,000 combined income last year. 2 kids, well under the phase out, so they pocket $600 plus $600 plus $600 plus $600. That's $2,400. If tariff revenue pushes the applicable amount to $800, their tally jumps to $3,200. That covers a month of daycare, maybe 2, or restocks the emergency fund. Second scenario, Alex single $200,000 AGI. He's over the $75,000 threshold by $125,000. Multiply that gap by 5 cents. That's $6,250 in reductions. So his credit evaporates. No hard feelings. That's how Congress designed it. Small business owners always ask, what about me? If you file Schedule C and your net profit after expenses comes in below the threshold, you're golden. Partnerships and S-corps pass income to you. Same rules. Regular corporations themselves don't get credits. Only flesh and blood taxpayers. Territory friends like Jorge in San Juan wonder if they need a federal return now. Probably not. Puerto Rico's Treasury will post a local form soon, similar to their child credit claim last year. Keep an eye on local news. They'll guide you. Let's talk scam alerts quickly. Whenever new checks make headlines, phishing texts erupt. Treasury won't email you a link. They won't call asking for your bank login. They'll use the same channel as your last refund or benefit, and they mail a paper notice inside 15 days plain government printing office letterhead. If in doubt, wait for the letter. Timeline questions pop up too. Earliest deposit could hit soon after passing because they're using last year's data. Congress gave Treasury until December 31st, 2026 to finish. But if we learned anything from the pandemic, the first wave of direct deposits moves within weeks once systems light up. Critics say, hold on, tariffs already raised prices. So, are we just taking money out of one pocket and dropping some back in another? Yale's Budget Lab estimates tariffs trim about $2,400 a year from the median household's purchasing power. A $600 check covers maybe a quarter of that. Supporters argue tariffs also protect domestic jobs. Plus, the rebate tilts benefits to middle-income families. Which view wins? Kind of depends whether your job sits in a protected industry or your shopping cart is full of imports. Behind the scenes, legal clouds hang over the president's tariff authority. If courts roll back certain duties, revenue shrinks, and the rebate could stall at the floor. The act doesn't create a backup funding source, so it rises and falls with tariff tides. People keep asking why $600 again. One Senate aide said it's a sweet spot, meaningful, but not price-shocking. $600 equals roughly a week's median take-home pay. Big enough to matter, small enough to avoid stoking extra inflation. Plus, Americans still remember the $600 checks from 2020 and 2021. So, the number feels familiar. So, what should you do now? First, peek at your 2024 adjusted gross income. If it sits near the threshold, consider IRA contributions or HSA top-ups to slide lower. Second, confirm your direct deposit information with the IRS, especially if you switched banks this year. Third, double-check your mailing address with Social Security if that's your main income. And stay scam smart. Drop a comment. Does $600 make a meaningful dent or just feel symbolic? I'm genuinely curious. And if you like money talk that stays calm and cuts the hype, smash subscribe. Share this with a friend who could use a clear breakdown. I'll catch you next time.